And of course, it would be totally remiss of us if we didn't talk about Arsenal this lunchtime. Going absolutely 100% strong. They look like showing no signs of slipping up this early in the season. All out right now and looking good, it has to be said. Post-match of the weekend, Mikel Arteta praised the mentality of his players.
Really happy with their performance, with the attitude and the mentality that the team showed. I think we were on top of the game. It was about being patient and the goal would come because we were deserving that, but we had to avoid mistakes and we made an error. It cost us a game, but even though that happened, I think the team showed that against adversity, Gavi individually, how he continued to play it, and the team, and obviously with the support that we have in the stadium right now, makes things much easier, and the team deserves to win. It's as simple as that.
It's as simple as that. I'm not so sure it's as simple as that, Mikel, because Arsenal are doing so well right now. Graeme, that was his 100th game in charge of the football club. Whatever he's doing, it's working, isn't it?
Yeah, I saw them play at Bournemouth in the first half. They were fabulous. But the fixtures have been kind to them, Jim. They've had a good start. You know, when the fixtures came out, they must have been delighted with the start. They've got a bit of momentum going. All the real challenges lie ahead for them. They are in the right direction. They've signed some good players, but all the real, you know, the real teams lie ahead for them that might tell you how good they are. It will tell you how good they are.
I mean, I think that's right. I mean, what a wonderful start to the season. If you can play an out-of-form Leicester, an under-aroused Crystal Palace in the first game of the season, a rubbish Bournemouth, and a promoted Fulham in your first 4 games, and then you can go off to an out-of-sorts Aston Villa, you're going to start with 5 wins.
You always tell us that Crystal Palace away is a tough fixture for anybody.
It is, but it wasn't in that game because Arsenal made it look easy and Palace went at it. They were miles off. They were miles off against the Palace side that gave Arsenal a run for their money, beat them and drew with them away. You've got to look at Arteta's progress. Graeme is absolutely right. First 50 games, 75 points. Second 50 games, 100 points. He's in the exact same space as Arsene Wenger was when Wenger had 100 games. So I'm taking those statistics out of my backside, but not because I want to be a stato, but because it gives you a real hang your hat on the improvement. I think a lot of it comes down to bravery. I think Aubameyang being drop-kicked out of the door was absolutely right. I think it sent a message out to the group of players that were playing for this football club that understand who runs this football club, not the captain who turns up when he feels like it. And I think he's in the right way. I think
you can't underestimate what they're doing.
I think he's moved. I'm not underestimating it. He's moved the needle from a conversation where I first thought he had the chops, then I thought, yeah, he's all theory and no practice. And I'm now beginning to think that the practice is beginning to come to the fore because he's building a culture in it. Now, put him in front of one of the grown-up teams with respect, and we'll see when they play Chelsea.
Well, Fulham on day one showed they were a pretty grown-up team, and they had a serious shock in store for Liverpool.
And they drew with Liverpool. And you can get a bounce in the first game of the season because it's bright sunshine, everyone's at it, on it and across it. Like when we're further down the track and Fulham got beaten a few times and it's a bit more difficult, we'll see how they are then.
It depends on the weather, does it?
Certainly at the beginning of the season, people get that bounce, don't they? They get that feel-good factor. The crowd are up and optimistic. No one's got any baggage behind them.
You don't want to play the promoted teams early on while their tails are up and they're full of beans. You want them to be punched around a bit.
Yeah, but that's what Arsenal did at the weekend. They played Fulham and they won.
Yes.
They're on the right track, Jim, but all the real tests lie ahead. I think we're all accepting that Arsenal have improved. They're playing good football. I said I saw them at Bournemouth. They were fabulous in the first half. But the real tests lie ahead.
Well, where do you both stand on this? And this went viral on social media.
Vile or viral?
It was being alleged by some, Richard Keys on beIN Sport, that Arsenal and Arsenal fans were maybe over-celebrating that win against Fulham. Over-celebrating it. In fact, this was Keys.
Steady, Connor. It's Fulham. And they trailed at one time. Yeah, well played. Came back to win it, and they keep their 100% record intact. But they haven't won the title tonight. They've won a London derby.
They've had nothing much to cheer about, Richard, for a few years.
I get that, Andy, but let's not get too carried away. No, they've won nothing.
So when, Graeme, did it become offensive to over-celebrate a win?
Well, you win, you're delighted. When you win by coming from behind, you're even more delighted.
Right.
So there's an element of that. But
that's why fans go to games and support their club.
Richard and Andy are correct. They've won nothing. It's just another step in the right direction. We come back to it. Their big tests are all ahead of them.
I mean, what should Arteta and the players and the fans all do? Like, ooh, everybody calm down. We all know where we are. We're not out of August yet.
Yeah.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
When I put, I hate saying that, but
What you should do.
the team I played in at Liverpool, when a team got a draw at Anfield, they did a lap of honour. That used to annoy the life out of us.
But come on, Graeme. I mean, this is Arsenal doing very, very
Who's he
well at
directing
this
it at?
particular time.
Yeah.
Who's he directing it at? The fans or the players? Well, I mean, obviously, Richard's like Tiny Tim at the window of the shop because he's like watching Coventry, isn't he? They're bottom of the league, can't buy a win, so probably he's looking at everyone else thinking, what's a win look like? Oh, it looks like that. But he is right. It's the Rudyard Kipling thing. You treat both imposters in the same way. You don't get exuberant off your maracas when you win a game, and you don't get depressed and down in the dumps when you lose one. Because ultimately, if you're a big football club, you expect to win. So what's all the Ferrara about?
So, I mean, Roy Keane actually, in some ways, started this. Don't celebrate. Don't over-celebrate.
I agree with him.
Don't celebrate. That might just veer towards the over-celebrating.
I agree with him. But
so were they wrong to do that?
I agree with him.
That was a London derby. That was a fixture they turned around.
Forgive me, what did they do in their celebrations?
Dance of the Seven Veils. I don't know.
They were out in the pitch. The players, quite rightly, very animated, enjoying the moment with the supporters who were super animated, and the fans were enjoying it thoroughly.
I don't
really see where the crime is.
I think no, there isn't one. I think it's coming from behind.
I don't know.
I did extra bit.
But what's the big furore about Richard saying that actually, come on, let's get some context. You haven't actually won anything. It's 4 games into a season. You haven't actually played anybody. Was there a lot of Scottish players playing on that pitch celebrating a victory? Was that what it was about? I don't know. Maybe it was that. But the bottom line is...
I just found it... I'm actually curious that he would play down a moment like that. We all know that where we are at this particular time in the season.
So last week we were turning around and saying Neville's
we all know that they haven't won anything.
Jumping up and down like a lunatic, right? Because Man United scoring a goal. We don't like that. Right? Now we don't like someone playing it down. Which is it that we do like?
No, I think the commentary aspect of it is totally different. These are the supporters,
do you like
very animated, celebrating with their the people they come to watch.
Who's he directing it at? Is he directing it at the fans, or is he directing it at the players? Because if he's directing it at the players, he might have a point to make. If he's directing it at the fans, or let fans celebrate how they want.
And they were doing that.
But so who's he directing it
in a super animated way? So he was having a go at Arteta and the players to a degree, but virtually what he was seeing, in other words, what he perceives to be over-celebration.
Tim, you work all week if you're in the football business, week for an hour and a half for an hour and a half on a Saturday, and your weekend depends on that. What mood you're going to be in, how your relationship is with your family. So all that work during the week for that 90 minutes, they've come from behind, they're relieved and they're delighted, and let them enjoy it. Listen, you can never win enough football matches.
What he's doing is basically saying, and I agree with him to some extent, you're celebrating mediocrity. You've won a game. What are you going to do then? For God's sakes, what are you going to do if you actually win something? Well, how far do you go then? What do you do then? Everyone going to strip back naked and run around the pitch and absolutely celebrate for a week and a half?
I don't think it's anything to decry whatsoever. I think it's quite refreshing. It's good to see. It's quite uplifting to see.
Right. But there's also context. And what's the wrong with context? Richard Keys has an opinion, because what we like to do in this society is say, you can speak because I like your opinion, you can't speak because I don't like yours, right? That's not how it works. He's got an opinion that they're over-celebrating. And if he's, and to some extent, with a big football club like Arsenal, you're surprised in the moment, yes, but after the game, get on with the next one. Next. Yeah.
Well, I mean, what do you think they'll see next Saturday, Graeme, when Rangers play Celtic? And if one of the two comes away with a win,
different.
What do you think you'll see? You'll see one hell of a lot of celebration on the pitch.
It's different.
Yeah. Why is it different?
Because that's the biggest derby I've ever played.
It's one game.
That's the biggest.
It's one game.
Hang on.
And neither Rangers or Celtic will have won anything yet.
Do I need to explain to you, given the fan base and all that goes on beneath that, why that might have a different dimension to Arsenal, Fulham?
Or so what? Arsenal Fulham is a London derby, is it not?
I'll leave. Fulham were in Division 3 12 years ago.
I think it's just enjoying the moment.
Actually,
I don't think there's anything wrong.
You've got your awkward hat on, haven't you? He's got
Luke in his ear.
Don't overplay it. Calm down. We're only in August.
No one's saying that.
Let's see what happens at the weekend.
Get context.
Yeah.
They're saying get context. And when you bring Rangers and Celtic into the argument,
you lose it then.
He's
making mischief.
Mikel, I know if you're out driving this lunchtime, next time you boys win, you'll probably win again very soon. Please, off the pitch as quick as you can. None of that celebrating.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Thursday morning, 10 till 1. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.